From Sovereignty to Commerce, How U.S. Law Became a Commercial Contract. In 1938, a seismic shift occurred in the American legal landscape, setting the stage for the notion that all law is commercial. With the Supreme Court's landmark ruling in Erie Railroad Co. v. Tompkins, the concept of federal common law was effectively dismantled in favor of a legal system that prioritized state law in non-federal civil matters. Although Erie restored certain elements of state sovereignty, it also paved the way for a highly commercialized framework where federal jurisdiction became dominant in areas of finance, commerce, and contractual obligations. Over time, this ruling would serve as the foundation for a legal paradigm that, by design, treats most interactions as governed by commercial or contract law principles. Since the 1938 decision, the U.S. legal system has expanded federal jurisdiction over commercial matters while adopting frameworks that view individuals, states, and corporations as participants in a nationwide commercial system. In this article, we explore how the commercial lens has come to shape all aspects of U.S. law and examine the legal, social, and economic factors that contributed to this shift. The Erie Doctrine and the End of Federal Common Law. The Erie Railroad Co. v. Tompkins' decision was pivotal in ending the concept of a general federal common law, a practice that had allowed federal courts to create their own rules for civil cases when no federal statute applied. In Erie, the court ruled that federal courts must apply state law in cases where federal statutes do not govern, effectively recognizing state law as the primary authority in civil matters. While Erie reinforced state jurisdiction over civil disputes, it did so primarily in matters unrelated to commerce and finance. The decision did not apply to commercial law, which remained within the purview of federal jurisdiction, particularly in areas related to interstate commerce. This ruling created a dual framework where general civil matters would defer to state law, but anything involving commerce, contracts, or federal obligations would remain under federal authority. This division underscored the transition to a system where all law governing commerce and finance was subject to a uniform federal standard, laying the groundwork for the idea that commercial law principles dominate U.S. jurisprudence. 2. The rise of the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC. Following the Erie decision, the development and adoption of the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, in the 1950s further solidified the shift toward a commercialized legal framework. The UCC, a comprehensive set of laws governing commercial transactions, provided standardized rules for negotiable instruments, sales, banking, and secured transactions across all states. By harmonizing commercial laws nationwide, the UCC allowed interstate commerce to flourish under a unified set of principles, effectively establishing a federal commercial jurisdiction across state lines. The UCC's adoption by all 50 states represented a significant shift toward commercial uniformity, with states agreeing to follow the same rules in commercial matters. This placed commercial law principles at the center of the American legal system, framing interactions between individuals, corporations, and states as commercial activities governed by uniform standards, regardless of local variations in state law. This transition reinforced the idea that commercial transactions, and, by extension, many other interactions within the U.S., are fundamentally contractual in nature, governed by a standardized quasi-federal system of obligations and rights. 3. The debt-based economy and Federal Reserve Notes, FRNs. The shift toward a commercial legal framework was also driven by changes in the U.S. monetary system, particularly the reliance on debt-based currency. In 1933, the U.S. abandoned the gold standard, and Federal Reserve Notes, FRNs, became the nation's primary form of currency. Unlike gold-backed currency, FRNs are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, functioning as debt instruments that represent an obligation rather than an asset. The use of FRNs in every economic transaction places all participants, individuals, states, and corporations, within a federal financial framework. By conducting business using FRNs, participants effectively engage in a federal system where currency is tied to debt and federal obligations. This reliance on FRNs positions every transaction within a federal commercial jurisdiction, binding participants to federal regulations governing currency, debt, and financial transactions. The debt-based nature of the economy thus reinforces the concept that economic interactions are, by default, subject to federal commercial law principles.